In this video, we're going to talk about some more angle relationships. The first angle relationship we're talking about is a linear pair. Recall from your notes that a linear pair is consisting of two angles that are supplementary. In other words, two angles that add up to 180 degrees. So here we're told that angles ABD and DBC form a linear pair. So these two angles are supplementary. If angle ABD equals 4x plus 24, and angle DBC equals 3x plus 23, find the value of x. Then find the measure of each angle. So we just said we know that because they form a linear pair, these two angles have to be supplementary, which means that we can add them together, 4x plus 24 plus 3x plus 23, and set them equal to 180 degrees. Now this becomes an algebraic problem where we can combine our like terms. So combine the x's together and then combine the constants together. When we combine 4x plus 3x, we get 7x. 24 plus 23, we get 47, equals 180 degrees. And now to isolate x, first step is to subtract 47 from both sides, which cancels out the 47s on the left, leaving us with just 7x. And then we have 180 minus 47, which will give us 133. Our final step is to divide both sides by 7. And when we do that, we get x equals 19. But the problem's not over. It says find the value of x, which we've done, but then it says to find the measure of each angle. So now we have to take this x value and we have to substitute it back into the two original angles. So for our first angle, we are going to do 4, and instead of x, we're going to plug in 19. 4 times 19 plus 24. Well, 4 times 19 would give us 76 plus 24. And when we combine those, you would get 100. Now we have to plug in 19 for x over here. So we would have 3 times 19 plus 23. 3 times 19 would give us 57, plus 23 would give us 80. And this makes sense. If we add those together, 100 plus 80, we're going to get 180 degrees, and that's what we should have. So we found x, and we found the measure of each angle. Let's look at another example of linear pairs. Angles EHF and GHF form a linear pair. If angle EHF equals x minus 16 and angle GHF equals 4x plus 1, find the value of x. Then find the measure of each angle. Let's first draw a picture so that we know what we're dealing with here. We're going to pretend that that's a straight line for a second. And then we're told that they form a linear pair, so we know that we've got a straight line, and we're not sure which angle is bigger. So we're just going to draw a ray kind of separating the two. So we'll label this EHF, and then we have GHF. So they told us that EHF is x minus 16, and GHF is 4x plus 1. Now, because they form a linear pair, they are supplementary. So we can set them, add them up and set them equal to 180. X minus 16 plus 4x plus 1 equals 16. Equals 180. Now we're going to combine those like terms, x and 4x, negative 16 and 1. So x plus 4x would give us 5x. Negative 16 plus 1 would give us negative 15 equals 180. Solve for x. First we add 15 to both sides. So we're going to get 5x. There we go. 5x equals 195. Then we're going to divide both sides by 5, which cancels out the 5's on the left. And on the right-hand side gives us 39. So x equals 39. So there's the first part, but again, they want us to find the measure of each angle. So we have to take that x equals 39 and we have to substitute it back into each original angle. So we've got, instead of x, we're substituting in 39. So let's use a different color. 39 minus 16. Oh, excuse me, 16. Well, 39 minus 16 would give us 23. So there's the measure of our first angle. Our second angle, we'll substitute in 39 for x, and we get 4 times 39 plus 1. So 4 times 39 would give us 156 plus 1, which would give us 157. So there's the measure of our second angle. Now, once you know the first angle, if you know that the first angle is 23, you could just do 180 to and minus 23 to find the measure of the missing angle. However, it's a good idea to go ahead and substitute in your x value because that will just verify whether you got the right numbers. Because we can look at 23 and 157 and say, oh, we know that those add together to 180, so we're doing the right thing. If you got the wrong answer here and you subtract it from 180, you run the risk of making a mistake on this answer. So it's just better to plug in x and solve it that way. All right, so let's look at another type of angle relationships. The next type of angle relationships are angle bisectors. And so recall from your notes that an angle bisector is a ray. So here's our ray, XB, and it's going to divide an angle, ABC, into two congruent angles. So that means that this angle is congruent to this angle. They have to be exactly the same. If this is 23, this is 23. It's if measure of angle ABX is 5x, and the measure of angle XBC is 3x plus 10, find the measure of angle ABC. So here they only want the measure of one angle, and they don't even really care what x is. So let's set this up. Now, instead of adding things in equal to 180, because these are congruent angles, we are going to set them equal to each other. 3x plus 10 equals 5x. Now, because we have x's on both sides, but we only have a constant on the left side, I'm going to suggest that we move the 3x. Get the x's all on the same side, and then get rid of anything else. So those are going to cancel out, and we just get 10 equals 2x. Now, to get rid of the 2, we can divide both sides by 2, which is going to leave us with 5 equals x, or we can flip that around and write x equals 5. They've asked for the measure of angle ABC, and so we're going to look at angle ABC as the whole here. So what we need to do is find the measure of one angle, and then we can find the measure of the whole. So if we plug it into this angle right here, 5x, if we just do 5 times 5, that's 25. So we know that the measure of this angle is 25 degrees. But because they are congruent, if this is 25 degrees, this is 25 degrees. So the measure of angle ABC would be those two added together. 25 plus 25 equals 50 degrees. It is very important to pay attention to what letters they're using and what angle they're asking for, because if they ask for angle ABX, that's very different than angle ABC. So always watch what they're asking for. Let's look at another example. Ray EF is the angle bisector of angle DEG. If the measure of angle DEF is 5x minus 3 and the measure of angle FEG is 2x plus 15, find the measure of angle DEF. So let's start by drawing a picture because we need an image of what this looks like. So we've got an angle DEG. And our angle bisector is EF. So we start at E and it's not going to be perfect, but we've got our angle bisector, which tells me that this angle is congruent to this angle. Now fill in what we know. We know that DEF is 5x minus 3, and we know that FEG is 2x plus 15. Now our goal is to find the measure of angle DEF. So now they're asking for the measure of one of these smaller angles, not the whole big angle. So let's start by finding the value of x. Again, congruent angles, set them equal to each other. 5x minus 3 equals 2x plus 15. We are going to subtract 2x from both sides. It doesn't matter what you move first. I just typically move the smaller value of x to from whichever side it's on. So 5 minus 2 would give us 3x minus 3 equals 15. Now we can add 3 to both sides. Cancel those out. 3x equals 18. And then finally we can divide both sides by 3. Those 3's cancel out and we get x equals 6. But they asked for the measure of angle DEF, so we need to substitute in the value of x. 5 times, instead of x, we're going to plug in 6 minus 3. 5 times 6 is 30 minus 3, and 30 minus 3 is 27. And that would be the measure of angle DEF. All right, let's look at one more problem. Now we're looking at vertical angles. So remember that vertical angles are angles that are across from each other. So we have vertical angles here and here, and we have vertical angles here and here. And vertical angles are always congruent. So these two are congruent to each other, and these two are congruent to each other. So let's start with the ones in red. We'll start with the x. Because we know they're congruent, to find the value of x, we're going to set this angle here equal to this angle. So we're going to do 12x plus 15 equals 75. In order to solve that, first we're going to subtract 15 from both sides. Cancel those out. 12x equals 60. And then we're going to divide both sides by 12. Cancel out the 12's, and x equals 5. So there's our value of x. Next, we're going to find the value of y by setting these two angles equal to each other. So we're going to have 6y minus 27 equals 105. Add 27 to both sides. Cancel out the 27's on the left, and you're left with just 6y there. Add those two together, and you'll get 132. Our final step is to divide both sides by 6. And when we divide 132 by 6, we get y equals 22.